and John were up on their way to the temple. They prayed in Jesus' name, and God healed the cripple. The elders and rulers didn't like what they did, so they jailed him and said, "Don't use that name around here. It's not welcome." But they said, "We can't stop talking about Jesus. There's just too much to tell. 'Cause he's the one who came to save us, and he made that crippled man well. You can put us on trial for saying the name of the man who came to redeem us. Do what you will, we can't be still. We're gonna talk about Jesus." After 2,000 years, it appears that not much is different. 'Cause the name of Christ still offends. Many don't want to hear it. Even our makers of law wants us all to be quiet. But just like Peter and John, we won't be silent. Oh, but we can't stop talking about Jesus. There's just too much to tell. 'Cause he's the one who came to save us, and he made that crippled man well. You can put us on trial for saying the name of the one who died to redeem us. Do what you will, we can't be still. We're gonna talk about Jesus. Do what you will, we can't be still. We're gonna talk about Jesus.
Welcome to Fairland Southern Baptist Church. My name is Brian. I'm the pastor here. So excited that you guys are here with us today as we talk about overwhelmed parenting. Anybody ever been overwhelmed as a parent? Hopefully everyone has been. If you're a parent, you've been overwhelmed at some point, because parenting is tough. And everyone tells you all the joys of parenting, and no one ever tells you all the hardships of parenting. And there's a lot of hardships of parenting, and you wonder all the time. It's a constant guessing game. You're always second guessing yourself. Did I do this right? Did I say that right? Was that the right way to do it? Was that the right discipline? Was, all these things you're just second guessing all the time. So this morning, as we talk about being overwhelmed as parents, I want to hopefully give us a little bit of an opportunity biblically to relax just a bit. I remember when Eli was, after he was first born, he was born in January, and then that May, Amy had to go off on a trip for work, and it was right around Mother's Day, and I was so excited because it was going to be the first Mother's Day, and I thought, man, what's something special that I can do for her? And so I came up with this idea. I said, you know what, I'm going to go and I'm going to get a pie pan, and I'm going to fill it with Quikrete, and I'm going to take Eli's handprint, and I'm going to put his little, just a few-month-old handprint in there. And then we're going to take these little letters that we had, magnet letters on the fridge, and we're going to put "I love Mom" on them, or "I love you, Mom." I can't remember exactly what it says on there. And so I thought, we're going to do this. I thought this would be easy. So me and Eli, he's just a few months old. We go to Lowe's and we get all the supplies, and I mix the Quikrete and I get everything set up. And it's at that point where I'm ready to put his hand in there. And for whatever reason, this kid grows this superhuman strength. And this 4.5, 5-month-old child will not let me put his hand in this Quikrete, right? And I'm telling you, every time I get close, he just starts freaking out screaming and crying. And there's a couple times I got him to touch it, and he didn't like it, and he's just crying and screaming, and I'm getting frustrated because I want to do something nice for her, and this little guy won't let me do it. And so I remember I put him to sleep, and I tried to take it in there and sneak it in his crib and stick his hand in there as well, and that didn't work either. I mean, it just wouldn't work. I tried everything. So finally, later on that day, he was on my lap, and I got him calmed down enough to where I took a piece of paper and a pencil real quick, and I just traced his hand. And later on, I cut it out on a piece of cardboard, and then I stuck the cardboard in there. And if you look at it to this day, it's actually still in our front flower bed at home. Now, all the letters that were inside it are gone. And if you look at it, it was done so quick and terrible that it looks like I took baby Freddy Krueger's hand and stuck it in there. And it's just jagged, and it looks terrible, right? But luckily, she was excited about it, and it worked out okay. I remember one time as a parent, when both the kids were little. Allie was just a few months old. Eli was probably around 3 years old, and he at that time was going to a lot of different therapies, and I had the privilege of being able to take him. So I remember one day, Allie had just been cranky all day, and she just couldn't get her happy. And Eli, I had to pick him up from preschool, and then right after preschool, I had to take him to Marshall for speech therapy. And we're on our way to Marshall for speech therapy. And Eli, when he was little, he had this real raspy little voice. And he goes, "Dad, Dad." And I was like, "What?" And he goes, "Allie ate a booger." And I said, I'm sitting there driving, and I'm like, "How did Allie eat a booger?" And he goes, "I fed her one." And I'm like, and here I am driving, and I'm like, what in the world? I'm like, I'm driving to Marshall. I'm like, "You fed your sister a booger?" And he goes, "Yes." And I said, "Why did you do that?" And he goes, "Because you said not to eat them." And I realized in that point, he had me, right? He had me. Well played, son. Well played. And I'm just like, at that point, I'm like, man, I can't do this. And like when you're with one child, it's okay, but when you're with both, they outnumber you. And children, I believe, are inherently evil, and they will try everything they can in a pack of two to destroy you, right? And parenting is just overwhelming, and now my kids are growing up, and we're dealing with online school and all these virtual options and practices and all these things that we do. And at times, parenting is just overwhelming. It's hard. It's difficult. And I love this scripture, and I'm going to read it to you almost sarcastically this morning. Psalm 127:3 says, "Children are a heritage from the Lord, offspring a reward from Him." Children are a heritage, right? I don't always feel that about my kids. I don't always just look at them and think, "Man, I'm thankful for you today." Some days I look at my kids, and at the end of the day, I look at them and I say, "I am thankful I did not physically hurt you today," right? Because there's times when you want to. Listen, here's the crazy thing, and you guys saw it firsthand this morning out of my 12-year-old who's going on 21. She is me to the T. And we fight all the time because she's exactly like me. She's sarcastic, she's mouthy, she's hot-tempered. All the things that I am, all the terrible qualities I have, she got them. And it's difficult, and it's like having an argument 99% of the time with yourself, and it's difficult, man. It's overwhelming. But I want to share some things with you this morning that hopefully will ease the tension a little bit as parents. And here's the first thing I want to share with you today is this. You're driving the bus, slow it down. Here's what I love. I love hearing parents talk about how busy they are. I do. And I hear it all the time. And it's so funny because I'll talk to my friends, and they'll talk about all these things that their kids are involved in and all the things that they're doing. And listen, we stay busy too. Like we're constantly, this past week, we had, Eli and I had guitar one night, and Allie's got dance and piano on Saturday. Friday nights, Eli works out with a personal trainer for soccer. The other days of the week, he's got soccer practice or a soccer game, right? So we're doing all these things. We're on the run most of the time, and we're doing stuff. And here's what I love about this verse, Psalm 39, 4 through 5. Show me, O Lord, my life's end and the number of my days. Let me know how fleeting is my life. You have made my days a mere handbreadth. The span of my years is as nothing before you. Each man's life is but a breath. And here's the thing that you need to understand this morning. You're driving the bus. Slow it down. You have the ability. Now, listen, I'm going to say something completely crazy. And I know you're going to shoot daggers at me for saying this morning, okay? But here's the thing. You have the ability to say no, right? How dare you say no to your kids? How dare you deprive them of being involved in an activity? Guess what? It's okay. It's okay to say no. It's okay to say, you know what? We're going to set this one out. You don't have to show up for everything. You don't have to do everything. And listen, if your world is crazy and out of control with your kids, you have got to understand you're the one driving the bus. Slow it down. You're the one that's in control. You have the ability to slow life down. And that's what this scripture is talking about. Show me, O Lord, my life's end and the number of my days. Let me know how fleeting is my life. Because here's what you have to understand. Before you realize it, it is over and done. It is gone. You do not get a second chance to go back and parent. You don't get another try at this, right? And that's okay. But here's the tough part about it. We spend most of our time spinning our wheels with activities that don't really matter. Matter of fact, my family, we look at things, and several years ago, my family almost fell away. We were almost divorced. Our family was just crumbling around us, and we had to take a look. And a lot of times people say, well, we're gonna tear the house down and we're gonna start over. We didn't do that. We ripped everything up from the foundation because we understood the foundation of our relationship was damaged, and we had to start it over from the very foundation. And so we look at everything that if we can't do it together as a family, do we need to do it to begin with? Is this something that we need to spend our time on? Is this something that's going to enhance us as a family? Because guess what? In just a few matter of what seems like days, my kids will be gone. They will be out of my house. And if I want to spend more time with them and help them grow in their relationship with Jesus Christ, I can't expect them to come to me and say, hey, Dad, we need to slow life down a little bit. It's my job as a parent to teach them to slow things down. And the reason I can do that is because I'm the one driving the bus. I'm the one making the decisions where we go and the things that we're involved in. And I have the power and the ability to look at them and say no, because here's the thing. You have to understand that not everything you can go and do will be a good thing for your family. Some things out there will completely destroy you as a family, because what I've found within sports and extracurricular activities is once you get into one thing, it leads to another, and there's another, and there has to come a time in your life as a parent and your parental relationship that you say, enough is enough. We've got to slow down. And you need to understand this morning, you're the one driving the bus. Slow it down. The second thing this morning is this: go down swinging. Embrace failure. Psalm 73:26. My flesh and my heart may fail, but God is the strength of my heart and my portion forever. Anybody ever feel like they failed as a parent? What day is it? See, it's Sunday. Oh yeah, I failed today. And I'm probably going to fail tomorrow. I'm that hot-headed parent that if I get mad, I will ground you for the rest of your life. And I am so stubborn, I will do every single thing I can to enforce it. And they'll come 10 years later, I'm like, nope, you're still grounded. I'm still mad at you for, I don't remember why, but you're still grounded. I will fly off the handle. And luckily, my wife and I, we understand that we're fighting a battle with these children, and it's an equal battle, right? It's 2 against 2. And my wife is great because she's very level-headed and she never, ever contradicts anything I say in front of the children. We're always on a team approach in front of the kids. But there's several times I'll be mad at the kids and I'll say something and I'll lay that punishment down and I'm mad. I got to get out there and I'll go to the room. And then Amy will come in the room and she'll come in and she'll go, hey, first of all, are you okay? I'm like, yeah, I'm okay. I'm just mad. And she'll say, okay, I understand. She's like, was that your best idea? And it almost never is, right? And here's the thing. You guys know me well enough to know that I'm jacked up. Listen, I know you well enough to know you're jacked up. Listen, we're all jacked up. It just is what it is. Guess what? Your kids are going to be jacked up too. That's just life. But you got to go down swinging. You got to embrace failure. Because here's the thing, when you fail as a parent, here's what you have to understand. It truly shows that you're trying in most areas. It shows that you're trying to do the right thing. We don't know. Listen, I didn't get a manual. I don't know if you did. If you got a manual and you didn't share it with me on how to raise kids, how dare you, right? You should put that everywhere. I didn't get one. I didn't get one that shows me how to do everything in every situation. I've got this one that shows me how I'm supposed to be kind and compassionate and loving, right? But here's the thing. God's son was perfect. He's met my son. He knows he isn't. And that's the tough part. We're going to fail. We're going to mess up. We're going to say and do the wrong thing. And the best thing that you can do is apologize for it and move on. But here, somewhere along the line, is we've developed this idea that we want our kids to be perfect and we can't hurt their feelings and we can't tell them no. And if I do this, that I'm gonna stunt their growth and they're not going to have the same opportunities. And I want my kids to like me. Listen, I'll be completely honest with you. I don't know if my kids like me. I've never asked my kids, do you like me? Because you know why? I don't care if they like me. It's not my job to make them like me. And I tell my kids this all the time. We are not friends. I am not your friend, Allie, I'm not your friend. I am your father. We will have time to be friends later in life. It is my job to guide you. It is my job to direct you. It is my job to try my best to point you in a loving relationship with Jesus Christ. But guess what? I'm human. I will fail. We will all fail, right? But the problem is when we start to fail and we start to say and do things that maybe don't work out, we stop trying, right? We stop caring. We get this mentality and this mindset that, man, I'm going to mess them up. But listen, they're going to be messed up anyway. And the reason they're going to be messed up is not because of anything you did. It's something at the very beginning of this book that happened when Adam and Eve messed up. That is why your kids are going to be messed up, because sin entered your life and sin will enter their life, because sin entered this world when Adam and Eve disobeyed, and that was the course and the repercussions for their actions. We're all going to suffer for it, but we have to try as parents, right? You have to embrace failure and go down swinging. So what if you mess them up? That's what counselors are for, right? And insurance will cover it most times. So come on, really? You just have to relax. And we're so high-strung as parents that we're afraid to try anything. We're afraid to change the course of action in our life because we're afraid of failing. Guess what? We're all going to fail, but we have got to embrace failure, because here's the mindset that absolutely drives me out of my mind, is this idea that failure is fatal, and it's not. Failure in life, listen, the times I've grown as a parent are the times that I've failed as a parent, and I've learned from my mistakes. I've learned not to do that. I've learned not to say that. I've learned that the way I handled things wasn't the best way of handling things, and I've had to go back and change it. Listen, I am not afraid to admit to you, there's been countless number of times that I've had to sit on the bed, the edge of each child's bed, and look at them and say, you know what? I handled that wrong as your father, and I'm sorry. I shouldn't have said that. I shouldn't have done that. I shouldn't have handled things the way I did, and I apologize for that. But guess what? The words are empty if you go back and you do the same thing again. You got to learn from that failure. So we got to understand that it's time to go down swinging, embrace failure. Now, I'm getting ready to pull up this next point, but I want to give you a disclaimer first on this next one. This next one is going to make most of you really mad, okay? And I've preached this message before, and this point always causes controversy with people. But this is my favorite one, and here it is. An empty nest equals rest. Let him go. Let him go. It's a tough one. Genesis 2:24, I love this verse. That is why a man leaves his father and mother and is united to his wife, and they become one flesh. Here's the thing. An empty nest equals rest. Let him go. Here's what I love, right? I love my kids. I do. I love them. And Eli is 15 and a half. And I take Eli to soccer practice. Now, when I take Eli to soccer practice, I usually just sit and watch practice. I just stay there. And I'll just sit in my truck, and sometimes I'll take my computer and my phone, and I'll work a little bit. But usually I just sit there, and I'll watch practice. And the reason I sit and watch practice isn't because I'm afraid he's going to get into something or I'm afraid he's going to get hurt. I like watching him work. He works hard. And I like watching the team practice. Here's the thing. Next year, he will drive himself to practice. This is the last year I'll drive him to practice as his parent and watch. Unless I just follow him down to practice and watch, which is kind of weird and creepy. So I'm not going to do that. He's been working hard all summer long, and he bought a car. Matter of fact, we drove his car this morning. And he has, and here's the thing I realized. We're at a point in his life where he and I have always gotten along real well. But that relationship is going to start distancing. He's going to be relying more on his friends. And he's going to be spending more time with his friends and less time with me. He's going to be talking to me less. And as his dad, I'm going to be completely honest with you, it breaks my heart. It really does. But I understand as a parent, that is what has to happen. That is the natural course of action in his life. And it's even harder because Eli is a terrible, and I mean terrible, communicator. Terrible communicator. I was at the guitar shop yesterday looking around, and I sent him a picture of this awesome guitar, and I'm like, dude, check this out. And he sent me back a text that said, cool. Cool. You know, I'm like, really? You can't elaborate a little more? I'll ask him all the time. I'm like, hey, man, how's your day? Good. How are you? Good. Everything going okay? Yep. One-word answers. Listen, he'll go on these trips with his youth group sometimes, and he'll be gone for a week, and we will not hear from him. I'm not kidding you. When out of sight, out of mind is a true thing with this kid. When he's gone, he does not think about us one bit. And there always comes a time in the week where I have to send him a text, and I'm like, dude, call or text your mom. I always have to tell him that. He was on a mission trip last year in Savannah, Georgia with his youth group, and I got a text from him one day, and I looked at it, and it scared me to death because when I first looked at it, it was him, and it was more than 2 words. And I was like, oh, my goodness. And I started reading this. Anybody ever watch The Office TV show? Anybody watch The Office? One person watches The Office. All right, I quit. I can't be your pastor anymore if you guys don't watch The Office. But anyway, there's this episode where they buy a van and all this funny stuff. And Eli texts me, and he goes, Dad, I swear, he goes, I just saw the van from The Office. And I'm like, oh, man, that's awesome. So cool. How are you doing? And he types back, good. And that was the last time I heard from him all week long. That was it. Now, Allie, she'll call me sometimes during the day, and I don't know what it is, but listen, do your girls, do they FaceTime a lot? Listen, Allie, if she calls me, it's on FaceTime. So at work, like, she'll call, and it's a FaceTime call, and, like, she starts out 100 miles an hour, and she tells me every detail. Like, every little thing I don't need to know, like, just get to the, And so, like, there's this contrast between them. But here's the thing that you need to know. An empty nest equals rest. Let them go. There's a natural process in life they're supposed to go through. There's a time when they will leave your home, and you have got to understand that's a good thing. When they leave your home, listen, moms and dads, this is your time to shine. when they're gone. This is your time to go to dinner and get an appetizer and dessert because you can finally afford it. And you don't have to share it with anyone else, right? Because here's the thing. If I get ice cream or something at a restaurant, I'm going to get one bite. And these kids who are like, no, I'm not hungry, I don't want anything, are going to eat the whole stinking thing. And it happens every single time. And this is my time. Listen, an empty nest equals rest, let them go. This is mine and Amy's time to shine. This is a time, listen, where we can come home from work and we can do whatever we want, or we can do absolutely nothing at all, and it doesn't matter anymore. And the problem is, for most of us, when we get to this point, we freak out because we realize the kids are gone and we never built our marriage and built our relationship. And now there's this person sitting across from you and you don't have anything to talk to them about all of a sudden. I remember the first time Amy and I went on a date after Eli was born. We called her brother and sister-in-law and had them come over and watch him. And it was actually a few months before we went on a date after he was born. And we decided we were going to go to Pizza Hut and get a pizza, and we were going to go bowl for a while and then come back. So John and Gina, my brother and sister-in-law, they come over and listen, they're great. And we had no worries because, to be honest with you, he was safer with them than he ever would be with us. And so we go to Pizza Hut and we order pizza, and we're just sitting there. And we're just waiting for them to bring us their pizza, and we're just sitting there looking at each other. And I remember looking at her and Eli did the funniest thing today. And then she would tell me this story about Eli. And they brought our pizza and we ate it. And then we went to Strike Zone and we bowled 2 games. And I kid you not, our first date, we had pizza, bowled 2 games, and we were home within an hour. And here's the sad part about it. When we stood there across from each other or sat there across from each other, we had nothing to talk about but him. And that's the way most of our relationships are. You don't have anything to talk about except the kids. That's not the way it's supposed to go. You've got to be cultivating and building your relationship with your spouse now, because guess what? At one point, that's all you're going to have. They're going to be gone, and that's what's supposed to happen. They're supposed to leave, and an empty nest equals rest. You got to let them go. I realize that at some point, and I hope and pray, actually, Eli meets a beautiful young lady and gets out of my house. I want Allie to meet a handsome, smart young man that can come to my house, and I can put the fear of God in him at some point. And I'm going to. I do not own a gun or a weapon, but when she starts dating, I will be purchasing one, or 2, or 3. But there will come a day when I will walk her down the aisle, and she will be gone. And it breaks my heart to think that I won't see her on a daily basis. It breaks my heart to think that I won't talk to her on a daily basis. It breaks my heart to think that these things that Eli and I share and we do, they just won't be there anymore because he's moved on. But that's the way life is supposed to go. Listen, Genesis 2:24, that is why a man leaves his father and mother, Listen, I'm going to be completely honest with you, and this might tick you off, but too bad. If you've got a 40 or 50-year-old young man living in your basement playing video games, you did something wrong. And it's just the truth of it. Because that is not how it's supposed to go. This is why a man leaves his father and mother and is united to his wife, and they become one flesh. Our job, here's the hard part. Our job is to get them to that point where they go. Now, that doesn't mean you ever stop being their parent. That doesn't ever mean that you stop giving them advice and loving them and being there for them. But at some point, you can't do everything for them. You got to let them go. And the reason you got to let them go is because this is your time to rest. This is your time to shine. And it's not an easy concept, right? Listen, I can be completely honest with you. Amy's going to have a really hard time with me when these kids are out of the house because I'm a mess. I'm very high strung, so I always have to be doing something. I'm going to wear her out when these, start praying for her now because this is coming in a few years. But we have to get to the point where this is a time where you rest. And biblically, this is what's supposed to happen. You get them to the point where they leave your house and they go out and they start a family and they do their own thing, and you get an opportunity to rest. You've done your job. You've had your moment, and now it's time for you to be there and support them and spoil those grandkids absolutely rotten. And the last one is this. They grow up way too fast. Enjoy them. Just enjoy them. James 4:14, why you don't even know what will happen tomorrow. What is your life? You are a mist that appears for a little while and then vanishes. I love how Scripture kind of describes over and over just how important we really are. You ever notice that? Here it is. What is your life? You're a mist that appears for a little while, then vanishes. You're gone. Our time here is literally nothing. They grow up way too fast. Just enjoy them. Calm down, right? Enjoy life. Have fun with your kids. Because here's the thing, I can guarantee you, I've met most of your kids. I don't know them on a real personal level. I know mine. But I can guarantee you this, in some regards, your kids are awesome. And you know why I know they're awesome? Because you're awesome. Because that's who God's people are. That's what God does. He makes people awesome. So at some point in your kids, there's this absolute awesomeness inside of them. Enjoy it. Calm down a little bit. Right? We're always on the go, and everything has to be so serious, and that's what they see out of us. And I feel bad because that's what my kids see out of me, this guy who's always on the go and serious and doing this and that. But here's what we have to understand. We have to understand that life is but a vapor, and it's passing by us every single day, and we have got to just enjoy life. 10 years ago, this was my little soccer player right here. And there he is in goal. He's a man now. He's a beast. And I don't dare mess with him because this kid at 15 and a half can hurt me at this point if he wants to. And I remember the first time he played soccer, it was like watching someone trying to herd cats, right? They had this poor guy. I've coached kids soccer before. It's awful. Here's this beautiful little girl over here that when she was born, and she's gone through all these stages, and this birthday was a couple years ago. This wasn't even her last birthday. But listen, I can promise you this one right here and all these right here, to me, that feels like it was yesterday. It was yesterday. I'll never forget one time, Amy and I were in the living room of our old home, and here's the thing we've always understood about our kids, and I don't know if your kids are the same way. If Eli and Allie are in a room together, and it's been this way since they were little, and it's still the same way now. If they're in a room together for more than 5 minutes, and they're not fighting, they're doing something they shouldn't be doing, right? There's trouble. And I remember one time we were sitting in the living room, and we were watching TV, and they were back in Allie's room. And, you could kind of hear them playing on the baby monitor. But we weren't really paying a whole lot of attention. They were getting along, and we thought, oh, this is a great moment. Our kids love each other. They're getting along. We're really good parents, right? Yeah. And we go back there, and it looked like it snowed in their room. They had 2 beanbag chairs that they decided to empty the beanbags out of, and they were everywhere. Millions of these things just everywhere. And they're back there just taking them and going, woo, woo, woo. I mean, we found bean bags for 2.5 years. I promise you, when we moved from that house, when we got everything out, there were like 3 or 4 bean bags still around the baseboard. And I'm like, this is absolutely crazy. And here this was. And I'm like, how in the world are we going to clean this up? And we just decided to shut the door and lock it and just let them play for a while, We'll get the shot back out later. Here's the thing. It passes by so fast. I can tell you every single detail about the day that each one of them was born, and I promise you, it feels like it was yesterday. I remember having to get up in the mornings and do everything for these kids. And now the thing, I don't have to do hardly anything for them. Over the past few months, just, kind of being injured and immobile, I couldn't tell you the number of times I'm sitting in a recliner and, I can't really get up and do much for myself. And Allie, she brings me lunch. I didn't ask her to. She just goes in and she fixes me lunch and she brings it to me. But it wasn't too long ago that I was feeding her a bottle. And it wasn't too long ago that I was feeding her baby food and cereal and watching it just get everywhere. Listen, it goes by so fast. Enjoy every single moment of it, because it's going to be over before you know it. It really is. And it's a sad thought, but here's what you have to understand. And here's the toughest thing for us to realize. And here's the thing that's always haunted me as a parent. They're not really mine to begin with. Now, don't think bad about Amy because they're mine. Okay, thanks, one person got it. They're on loan from God, is how this works. Like, for whatever reason, this God who knows me best entrusted these two to me, right? And if there's ever a time where you question God, you start to question God then a little bit. Like, really? You're going to let me raise two kids? It's my job to try my best to point them in a loving relationship with Jesus so that they can know him and they can point other people to Jesus. And in that time, it's my opportunity to enjoy that process. It doesn't mean it won't be a hard process. It doesn't mean that you're not going to face things as you go through, because you're going to. You're going to have hard times. The Bible never anywhere says that this stuff's going to be easy. I remember a few years ago, and I'll close with this. A few years ago, when I was at C3, we were in a building process and doing all the stuff, and I was gone all the time, and my focus was always somewhere else. And I came across this, and I think it was something that Andy Stanley had done. And Andy Stanley had came home one day, and he had this questionnaire that he had printed out for his family. And I thought, that's a pretty good idea. I'm going to do this. And so I set my family down, and I said, okay, here's the deal. I want you guys to answer these questions, and I want you to be completely honest. And there's only one rule. The only rule about these questions is that no matter what you say, I can't get mad. I can't get upset. I can't, right? That's the only rule. And I remember Eli looking at me, and he was like, so you're not going to get mad? And I'm like, no. And he's like, you can't get mad? I'm like, no. And he goes, so we're not going to be in trouble no matter what we write? And I'm thinking, dear Lord, what's this kid going to write about me, And I remember I put 3 questions on there, and the first question is, what would you like me to do more? And the second question is, what would you like me to do less? And the third question is, what do you want from me? And they could answer completely honest, all 3 of them. And I remember I put them on a note card, and I gave them 15 minutes. And I said, I want you to fill these out, and then in 15 minutes we're going to come back, and we're going to talk about your answers. And I really just want to see, where I'm at. And so the first question is, what do you want me to do more? I remember Eli's answer was say yes. He wanted me to say yes more. And I thought, that's pretty cool. That's a good answer. Allie's answer was, I want you to play Legos more. And I thought, that's fair enough. That's fair. I'm busy. I don't remember what Amy's answer was. I probably should, but I don't remember. The second one was, what do you want me to do less? And all 3 of them had the exact same answer, and they were all in separate rooms. And the answer was they wanted me to yell less. Fair enough. Good answer. And the one that blew me away, one that just absolutely gripped my heart, was, what do you want out of me? And the answer from all 3 of them was more of you. More time. We just want more. I understand wanting to give your kids a good life. I do, and I applaud you for it. But I can tell you, what they want is not more technology. It's not more clothes. It's not more cars. It's not more stuff. more of you. And if you deny them what they really want and really desire in this life, God help you. Because there's only one thing they really, truly want, and that's you.